and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host,
Miosha.
and today we're doing another Am I the A-hole reaction video. So if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also, drop down in the comments and let us know your thoughts about both of these scenarios. If you're listening on a podcast platform, thanks for listening. We also have a YouTube channel, so feel free to come on and watch the videos and comment here as well. Okay, we'll go ahead and get into the first one.
All right. Am I the a-hole for suggesting we stay elsewhere during a family vacation? My wife and I have a 2-year-old daughter, let's call her Anna, and we are currently on a family vacation in Hawaii with my parents and in-laws, 7 people total. We are staying at my father's timeshare, which he periodically invites us to. The 2 pairs of grandparents adore Anna and seem to get along with each other. Anna is undergoing potty training right now. As with all potty training, there are occasional accidents. We arrived in Hawaii 2 days ago, and she has had quite a few accidents. I suspect it's because she's dealing with an unfamiliar place and new people. Right before dinner, Anna had an accident on the pull-out sofa, which necessitated a call to housekeeping to swap out the sheets and cushions. My dad wasn't happy. When all 7 of us sat down shortly for dinner, my dad sat down, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Anna is out of control, isn't she?" Bear in mind, Anna was sitting right across from him at the table. I let it slide, continue eating, and my wife said something to try and brush it off. Then my dad suggested that we put Anna back in diapers and that she should not be allowed on the bed or couch. I responded by saying that I didn't want to do that and that with potty training, it's a process that has its highs and lows. My dad then remarked that it would be problematic if she had an accident on the carpet because it would be hard to clean up. In my mind, I thought to myself, so you don't want her on the bed, couch, or carpet? Where is she supposed to hang out the whole time? The bathroom? At that point, I was frustrated and said something to the extent of, if Anna's accidents are too big of a problem, we can always find another place to stay at. That's when my dad blew up. He accused me of threatening him and being disrespectful. It seemed that he took my suggestion as a threat of leaving, and he made it very clear that he felt offended. He also said that I needed to be careful with what I say and how I show respect to your parents. I responded repeatedly, telling him that I didn't threaten him nor intended for him to be threatened. He responded that it doesn't matter what your intent was because I felt threatened. At this point, I was really upset, so I said something I probably shouldn't have, remarking that he was too easily threatened. My dad then demanded that I apologize to him. I didn't feel that I had to, but I half-heartedly apologized because I wanted the argument to end and because it was making things super uncomfortable for my in-laws who were sitting at the table and eating dinner through all of this. Later that evening, my dad pulled me aside again and lectured me further about the argument. It seemed that the whole blow-up happened in response to my remark that we could have stayed elsewhere if my dad couldn't tolerate Anna's potty training accidents. Am I the a-hole for saying that?
I'm sorry. Imagine being the in-laws when this is going on.
You like... Sorry to the people listening on the podcast. That was my code.
Okay. I don't think he's the a-hole. I wonder what conversations happened before this vacation. Because if it were, I don't know, let you start because you're a parent, right? And a part of you wants to be like, hey, if you know you're going into an unfamiliar space and this is a baby, right, or a toddler, you can't control it. They can't control it. They're still learning. Was it the responsible thing for them to just try to like, well, let's freestyle it and see how Anna does, or should they have stayed somewhere else from the jump, communicated, hey, this is what's going on, put her back in diapers? Like, I'm very hesitant to say my opinions because I'm not a parent, but
Yeah. Okay. As a parent who's no expert, because I'm still new in the game.
right.
So the OG parents in the comments, y'all chime in. But I would say if it were me, I would not travel to someone's timeshare, parent or not,
Yeah.
and my child is still being potty trained.
Right.
I think when kids go through most kids, when they go through potty training, even when they get it down, it's a muscle that has to be trained. And so they may be potty trained, but that doesn't mean they'll always make it to where they need to go. And that takes at least, I would say, 6 months, sometimes to a year, if you start them very young, say right at 1.5, 2 years old. So accidents are very normal for a while, even once they're trained. So I probably would err on the side of probably getting my own space or a hotel just to not be disruptive to someone else's home. I just would not probably take, unless I was okay with putting them back in a pull up, which the dad is right in the story that it does regress them, putting them back in diapers. It's
Yeah.
sometimes for some kids, it's like starting all over. So I get, once you get the party started, you don't want to go back because it's so much work up front.
Yeah.
I know for me, when I was in that stage, I would sometimes not go certain places, or this is just the season we're in because I don't want to put them in a pull up. So we're just going to have to miss this one. And that's to respect other people's space, the public.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was forfeiting going out just because we weren't quite there yet. Now, I will say that you're not the a hole for suggesting that you stay elsewhere, because that's probably what you should have done in the first
Where was
place.
that? Right. Where was that suggestion before? Is what I was thinking. Like,
And I understand you feeling away. She's not a pet. You can't lock her in the bathroom. At the same time, you probably should have just gotten a hotel or something else, because he's right. I mean, you can't have urine just everywhere. I mean,
and I feel like because this was his parents' timeshare, if this were anybody else's timeshare, the thought to get another place probably would have been, his first thought and the one that he would have gone with. But people expect so much more grace from the grandparents. Like, what, this is your grandchild? How dare you suggest XYZ? Or this is your grandchild. It should be okay that she pees on your couch. Or, like,
but I also could see the granddad being like, no, just bring her. Like, she'll be fine. Because you know how grandparents, when they're so far away, sometimes, not all of them, but they're so far removed from that phase that they think that, oh, you've been potty training for a month or
yeah.
two. By the time the trip comes, oh, she should be good. Don't worry about it. I could, he was already offended that they were going to stay elsewhere while already on the trip. So I could see ahead of time him telling him, the granddad being okay with it, and then when it's right happening right in his face, his couch being peed on, he's like, whoa. I thought you said she was being potty trained.
Okay. I don't think he was so much offended about the thought of them staying somewhere else in general, like before the trip. I think it was, oh, well, we could leave. That is what felt like a threat to him. So like, we're
That's
here
being
now, but since
disrespectful.
you
I don't have to be here.
since you got all this to say, I could get Anna and we could leave. So I think that's where the issue came up, but I don't know, because I don't know these people, if that would have been suggested up front, like, hey, we don't want to mess up your things. And she's in a state where we don't really know how things are going to go with the travels, with whatever. I don't know that the dad would have been that opposed to it, because then it's not a threat. Then it's pre-planning.
He was saying it in an emotional heat of the moment. Yeah, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think you were just in a back and forth tiff with your dad where, like most parents, they expect to give you all the energy and you just receive it.
Give them nothing
But we
back.
grown.
And with the in-laws being present, I'm sure that added some more ego. Like, oh, he talked to me like this in front of strangers, you know? So,
Yeah. Next time, just get your own space. Unless your child is well into potty training, I
unless
don't.
that child is 5. But they could still wet the bed. They could still, like, children are
It's a
children.
long process. Even when people say, "Oh, my kid is potty trained," these kids that will have they could just be playing at the playground and get distracted, and boom, yeah.
They'll be like, oh,
So,
you think I'm potty trained? I'll show you potty trained, you know?
and when they're in new environments, it is almost like starting over because they don't know how to gauge how far the restroom is. At home, they know, oh, I
Yeah.
can cut it close and make it. So, Yeah.
I
Y'all let us
can't
know.
imagine anybody feeling like he's the a-hole. Maybe some parents who are like, oh well, he was wrong for having a back and forth at dinner. Uh, there's some hostility there because he's like the first thing out of my dad's mouth was Anna's out of control. Okay. Also, the dad didn't have to say she's out of control. This is a toddler. Let's be very for real. What does an
But
in
you know
control
how
toddler look
godparents,
like?
because they're far removed. They have amnesia about how rambunctious you probably were and how much energy and effort it took to watch you. They're so far removed from it that when kids do things that all kids do that are very much age appropriate, they can see it as like, oh, these kids are out of control these days.
Right.
We were out of control too. You just forgot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So this one says, am I the a-hole for leaving everything to my biological children and none to my stepchildren? I have been battling cancer since I was 28. She's 51 now. It's come back 3 times, and now I'm at the point in my life where I'm comfortably living with cancer. I have 2 daughters in their 20s with children, one being widowed. I remarried 2 years ago to a man with 4 children, one still living at home with us. He's 19. It's been weighing heavy on my mind to make sure everything's in order in case of the worst, and I had told my husband I had planned to leave everything to my children and grandchildren. I wanted to make sure they were set. He got upset and said that was horrible because I married a man knowing he had children. That was, sorry, that what I was doing was horrible and would make them feel unloved. I love my stepchildren like my own, but one of my daughters is a 29-year-old widow with 3 young children. My husband is an oral surgeon. He makes great money, and what he chooses to do with it after he passes is up to him. He's been very upset by this and has not been talking to me. And he even told his eldest daughter, who's also had many tragedies in her life, and she brought it up when she stopped by the house. She was also upset by this. I don't have much to offer, not like my husband, but I don't see the big deal. I don't want their feelings hurt. My husband says it's the principle. I married a man with children. Am I the a-hole?
Absolutely not. And all these children are grown.
If the youngest one is 19,
And he's an oral surgeon. No, you are not the a-hole, and your husband is being super manipulative.
also, Viosha, did you catch that they've only been married 2 years?
Oh, you're right. Only 2 years. It's not even like, oh, okay, we raised the
These
kids
kids
maybe from
together.
10 years old older.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
So I think he's being so unreasonable. He's the a-hole. You got your 2 kids to take care of. I don't know where their dad is, if she was a widow or if, he's just not in the picture. I'm not sure, but
And where is their mom? We don't
that's
know where she is.
right.
And the other thing too, I don't know, you've only been married for 2 years, so maybe your perception of his financial position is stronger than what it actually is. Because
Fair.
that something's not adding up. Also, why would he take it as far as to mention it to any of the children? What a way to sabotage any type of future
Relationship.
bonding or relationships that could be there. Now they're looking at you as though you're the bad guy. He's setting them up to have wrong expectations. Sir, these are your children that you had with someone else. That means that if the youngest is 19 of his that's still living at home, they were 17 when you got married. Not your responsibility. Like you're
Yeah.
raised and grown at that point. So it's not even like you had any hand in raising these
That
kids.
child at all.
No,
I
you're
don't know.
mm-mm.
I would expect when people get married later on in life that the assets are separately. Is that me being naive? Like the assets are handled separately?
So she's 51, so
They're
she would have been
49.
49. You would think so. You've already probably owned a home, had children, had
Yeah.
other assets. I would assume whatever you accumulate from that point forward. it would make sense. Maybe you would do it mixed, but up until this point, and it's only been 2 years. I don't know. You may want to ask more questions about his financial situation, because if he's expecting you to take care of his children, so that anything happen to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, she says she's had some bouts with cancer.
She said it's come back 3 times from 28 to 51. It's not her
And this is
responsibility.
what he's worried about.
It's not her responsibility. I also think, just because this is something I see often, she says, I love my stepchildren like my own. I kind of wish people would stop saying that, because I don't always know that it's true all the time. Like, people be like, yeah, I love such and such, like they're my own. Do you? I don't know. Like, I know your intention is to, but can you ever truly love these grown people who have just come into your life as if they're your
I,
own?
I think you can
I don't
when
know.
you come into each other's life earlier. I
Yes.
could see
Yes.
someone raising a 3-year-old, even a 10-year-old. I think Russell Wilson loves baby Future. He's not a baby no more. He's a preteen now, but he's still
Right.
baby Future. I think he loves him as his own because
Yes.
he's been there since he was what, 2, 3?
But
So I
at
think
this
it's
stage,
cool.
I don't know. Like, you had your kids, then you raised them. You just met these people maybe a little over 2 years ago, assuming maybe they were together for a year before they got married. So I don't know that the expectation is for you to love them as your own. You love them as your stepchildren because that's what they are to you. I don't know.
Yeah, that parental bond probably isn't there. And it also shows his disregard maybe for your children, because I would assume that because those aren't his kids, he maybe could look at it more objectively and say, okay, one of your daughters is a widow, has 3 young kids. I don't know. I think as parents, you have to maybe assess the needs of the individual children and what
Yeah.
makes sense. That one child, your daughter, has 3 grandkids already. I don't know how many grandkids he has.
Yeah.
I also think if his position was stronger, would he really be fighting or making a big deal out of this to go as far as to say something to the daughter? I don't know. I feel like you might be sleeping with the enemy. I'm reading into this way too much.
It's giving Risa Tisa.
Yeah, I'm reading into it. I'm not getting any. I don't know why you
Stability.
would tell the daughter this. It's already hard enough for children sometimes to accept a quote unquote new parent, especially so much later in life. And then for you to throw this in here, this woman didn't even do anything.
Why is the daughter mad? I don't know that I would expect my parents' new spouse to leave me. Like, how much does she have? Do they know something that we don't? Like, is she just stacked like that? And so,
The only way I would, and I don't even think I would expect it, if I had a stepmom who had gone through cancer, I was her caregiver, we had this bond. If she left me something and blessed me in a way, I would be thrilled. Obviously, most people
yeah.
would. If you have maybe put in the work and you have that relationship and you have that bond. But also, if I had a stepsister who was widowed, maybe struggling financially, and I was okay, I'd be like, no, just give them the money because they need it more than I do.
Exactly.
So
Now I need to know everybody's occupation. I need to know everybody's occupation. What are they doing with their
he
lives? Like,
said he don't have much to give like he does. So I think her perception is that he's set up better than her.
as an oral
But
surgeon,
if he's salty and the daughter is salty, maybe who knows? People, they can present a certain way but be in a lot of debt, or they could be bringing in a lot of cash but also have a lot of debt. So it may not be what you think it is. And after 2 years,
it's just too soon for. It feels too soon for him to be making those types of demands, for the daughter to be upset and be making those types of demands. I want to know what her kids are saying. She probably had the maturity not to bring them into it and say, oh, he's trying to get me to give his kids some of my, whatever I leave behind. But I wonder what her kids will think, because it just seems crazy
If I were her, I would make sure all my stuff is buttoned up and my children's names are on whatever
Mhm.
assets I have. Because even he, I don't know, can be trusted at this point. Should anything happen to her, I wouldn't even say anything else. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I would say, okay, make sure all my documents are in order. This is how I want everything handled. Who
Mhm.
will take what? Don't even do a will. Do like a trust or something. Get everything signed by the lawyers. Have everything in order because this guy sounds like he might be the type to even fight your daughters for stuff.
Can
It
you
happens all the
imagine?
time.
Oh my God. Anyway, not us taking this scenario to the extreme,
I know.
but also be careful, girl. Watch your back. All right. You guys let us know. Also, I do want to just circle back because I'm not saying that a step parent cannot love a stepchild. What I'm questioning is that they've all met as adults. And
Hmm.
so it's reasonable, in my opinion, for her not to want to leave the inheritance to her stepkids because they're not her kids and she just met them as adults. So
Hmm.
I'm sure she loves them, and I know that step parents love their step kids, and vice versa. It's just this particular scenario that I'm speaking to. So just to
Yep.
be fair. All right,
All
we'll catch you guys on the next one, but let us know what you think in the comments. Until next time, bye.
right. Bye.